Second.
Okay. Go ahead.
Back up.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Mr. Sweat made the motion for the amendment, which was seconded by Rachel. So Rachel needs to take her second back, not Rhonda.
Oh.
Huh?
Yes.
On the floor.
I take the second back.
No,
On the
I
first
take my
one.
second back.
Now I second his motion to
Yes.
I'm lost. You really want to...
withdraw my second.
Mr.
I
Sweat?
withdraw my second to the First Amendment.
And you withdraw your First Amendment, is that correct?
That is correct.
Would you restate this new amendment? Man, are we getting all hung up about it?
Delete the second sentence.
All right, delete the second sentence. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion on delete the second sentence? Okay, is the committee okay with it?
Yes.
Rhonda, Rachel?
Yeah. I am.
All right. Being no further discussion, we'll vote on the amendment. All in favor of deleting the second sentence as an amendment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0-0. And now that becomes the main motion, which would read, Wareham Public Schools Department will respond to crisis situations in a manner that ensures optimum safety for students.
Do we need a policy for that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0-0. Next.
One comment.
Go ahead.
Rachel, we're going to have to review with the committee that also, because we had a lengthy discussion about and I wasn't kidding about the medical procedures. We talked in great length about the specificity that are in the medical policies. So Jeff, even before you bring it up, there is a lot of specific things in there defining more procedure than it is policy. And many of the things in there had to stay. So I just want to make sure, we just want to review both of those, Rachel, with the group, to make sure that there's someone, right, nothing that is requiring, or something that's requiring us to keep it in there.
Okay, what's next?
Transportation of emergency safety and crisis response language. So we made changes to this policy, and this is where we did get into policy, procedure, how much language needs to be in there, because it does, there is another document, or there's a procedure that they follow. So, but we did make some slight changes to the language here.
Move approval. Second.
This is the Transportation Emergency Safety Crisis Response Policy?
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0-0. Next.
Transportation of drivers' children.
Okay. Going to report it out?
I will.
Okay.
This was several meetings ago, and I think that I've reported on this a couple times, where this policy has been brought up in front of the Policy Review Committee every single year, even though it wasn't its time to come in front of the committee. It continues to be a debated policy. There are people on the Policy Review Committee this time, as well as in prior years, that are on both sides of the fence when it comes to this. The overall policy talks to allowing drivers to transport their own children. We tabled it the first time around so Mr. Tatro could come and give us his recommendations, as well as doing research around other communities and policies. And what he came to us was the recommendation that you have in front of you. Again, we did debate it, we did update language, we tweaked it a bit, but at the end we didn't have a unanimous vote. We did not have a unanimous vote. And just to be completely open with the committee, I'm one of the people that voted against the policy. But I'm not trying to sway anyone. Again, Mr. Tatro feels that this is a policy that he could absolutely enforce. He doesn't believe that it is causing any issues within the transportation department, is not putting any children at risk whatsoever, and would like the committee's support in enforcing this policy into the 2012 school year, because I'm sure that it will come up again next year.
Discussion?
That's fine.
Yes. I don't agree with it either. I have a few issues. One is, I know I keep hearing, well, it could be a distraction.
So you do agree with it? You said you don't agree with it?
No, I don't agree with this. They're saying, I hear the arguments that I hear, it's like a child could be a distraction.
Just for the record, you agree with this?
No.
Okay.
No, and I don't agree with it because I just, one specific, only children 5 years of age or older.
Okay.
I want to know I'd like to know how many bus drivers are driving their kids, what their ages are, if there have been any complaints, if there have been any issues. I've never heard of any.
And that was one of the reports that Mr. Tatro came with, and one of the changes that he did make, because the policy was much more broad and just spoke to children. That one of the changes that he suggested was that it was children 5 years or above or currently enrolled in the Wareham school system. Those were the changes that he recommended. But he has not had any issues.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Sorry, I just wanted to answer that question.
So what would
Yeah. Well, my concern...
What is your...
My concern is this: if there is a child that is under the age of 5 that is riding the bus during I don't see what the issue is. I don't think that, is it going to put a bus driver out of work? Which is one thing I will absolutely not support in any way. I won't put one bus driver out of work right now. It just won't. I will never support that. So are there kids under the age of 5?
Currently today, no.
So you're looking for a more liberal policy, is that correct?
Yeah. I just...
Best discretion or no guideline at all?
When I go back when I was a kid and the bus driver's kids rode the bus, it's been happening since the dawn of time. So I think it's regulating ourselves into the inability to function is what I'm looking at. But my concern is, how is it going to affect the bus drivers? Bus drivers don't make a massive amount of money. They're not, it's not an income level that I would consider conducive to be able to afford daycare while working. It doesn't work. And I think in this economic time, I just don't think it's an issue. If it's not an issue, there's no complaint, what are we doing? Are we just making a policy to make another policy? I think we have too many policies.
Well, this policy is already in the book, though.
But with the children of 5?
No, that
That's a
it's...
change.
Or, let me just say that it says the first sentence is only children 5 years of age or older who meet the following criteria, and then the first bullet says each child must be 5 or enrolled within the Wareham school system. So it could be a child under 5, but they have to be enrolled in the Wareham school system. So
how many programs are available for children under 5 to be enrolled?
We have a preschool for 3, 4-year-olds.
And today, there is no bus driver that will, this is the world today. So this policy is, well, there's not one bus driver that is driving right now that will fall outside of this policy.
Rachel?
I'm just kind of curious as to where the policy ended up coming from then. What was the drive behind it?
There was a policy, and the policy, was it 4 years or was it 3 years old? We had one that said
At least 4 years old.
that they had either 3 or 4, I'm not sure exactly.
I just remember somebody saying that this has been brought up all 6 years that they've been on.
The reason why some members of the Policy Review Committee have been against the age limit that was there is that they felt with a young child who might require mom or dad's attention while they're supposed to be driving, that the driver would be distracted, and that, God forbid, if there was an accident, would the driver remember the responsibilities to all of the students on the bus, or would they go with a natural inclination to their own child first? That, I believe that's where a lot of the angst came in discussing this particular policy. But Jeff then went and found from some of the larger companies a policy that he felt gave him the right, if there was a child that was over 5, the last paragraph, it talks about this being a privilege, and the privilege may be denied to an employee who does not provide care and custody of a child. So if there is evidence that for whatever reason that child is distracting the driver and so forth, then the manager can say that, I'm sorry, you can no longer have your child on the bus. So it gives them some management rights there, but it does allow them, if they're in 5 years old and they're in kindergarten and they go half day, maybe they ride with their parent in the morning. So there's a little flexibility, and because no one would lose their current job, we don't have anybody with a child under 5 that are riding with them.
Or, there might be someone under 5, but they're enrolled in the Wareham school system.
Okay. So that's why we went along with it, I think, at the committee, that even the people that would like it more liberal were okay with this. And then there were the others who really wanted that no children of drivers were allowed to ride. So this was kind of a compromise between the two sides of the committee, if I'm stating it correctly.
You are. And the reason why there are two that are against this policy, just in general, as Dr. Rabinovich said it exactly, that it was the feeling that every single school bus driver cares for the children that are on their buses. I want to state that very clear. Understand that. But that it has to do with perception and liability. And at the end of the day, no matter what, even if there was an accident and the bus driver took care of every single child on that bus, there is still perception and an opportunity for the school system to be liable if something did happen, or even if it didn't, that someone just said, okay, I have a problem with it. And so, again, this is nothing about the bus drivers and their care for the children. It has to do, again, with perception and liability, and that's the reason why you see two folks and I was one of them, that voted against this policy just in general.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Kenny.
So it's pretty obvious that this is a gray area. I would like to table this for a meeting that we can have Mr. Tatro present with more information. I'd like to know how many this affects. There are a lot of different parts to this, and it's something that the Policy Review Committee struggled with when I was the chair of that committee 2 years ago, so this is an annual thing. I'm not comfortable voting on this when we have members that aren't in agreement with it. I'd like to have Mr. Tatro here for some question and answer before proceeding with this.
I have a motion to table.
Can I just say,
I have a second.
any further discussion?
Yep, absolutely.
Kenny, I do, just so you know, when Mr. Tatro came to the policy review, we tabled it so then he could come to the policy review committee, and again, that was one of the first questions that we asked was, does this affect any drivers by putting any of these new things in place? And he said absolutely not. So I just wanted to let you know, if you want him to come here and say the same thing here, I support that. I think that, though, even just speaking for myself, even if Mr. Tatro comes and presents again, I will probably still be against this policy. So I just want to make sure that when the group is deciding on whether to table this or not, because I'm all for taking a vote tonight, but for me, it is just, everything that I've heard, and I still have my opinion about liability. And
Well, I think Can I say something, too?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, the whole perception thing, I think that there's no possible way to policy perception. We can't do it. No matter what we do, no matter how careful we are, there's going to be a perception out there by somebody that's going to create trouble. It's just the way it is. And I have to say, and I'm going to defend our bus drivers, if 65 kids behind you isn't